Welcome everyone. Today we're going to explore the fascinating world of photography through the lens of the iconic Mamiya C3 TLR camera. This camera has captured some of the most stunning images in history, from sweeping landscapes to intimate portraits. But what makes it so special? Let's dive in and find out. The Mamiya C3 TLR camera was first introduced in 1962 and quickly gained popularity among professional photographers for its high-quality images and ease of use. It was the first successor to the Mamiya C2 TLR camera and featured several improvements, including a brighter viewfinder and a faster shutter speed. The camera was widely used by professional photographers in the 60s and 70s, and it remains a popular choice for those who prefer the traditional viewfinder. Provides a bright and clear photography, making it easy to focus. The camera boasts a powerful lens with practice and maximum aperture of f2.8. Overall, this camera can capture stunning portraits with beautiful bokeh, and so on and so forth, and blah 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 blah. Everything is wonderful. I don't know who that was. I don't take any responsibility for what he said, but this is a human review. You see? Different gloves, black. I'll take you through all the features systematically and give you the pros and cons. The lenses are truly remarkable. These Mamiya lenses are exceptionally sharp and reliable. I'll show you some film tests at the end. For now, take it for granted that the lenses are good. This is the taking lens. This is the view lens. The two are sort of attached to each other, and they come off and go back together. This redundancy is, of course, weird in all these TLR cameras. In order to solve the problem of taking a picture but being able to focus accurately through a lens, the lens has been duplicated. Now, this camera is already 3 years after Nikon F. You know what a breakthrough Nikon F was. It's a contemporary of Praktica 5F. It's a contemporary of Nikkormat FTN. And the features it has are frankly primitive. Everything is there in some way, but Simpson.
What kind of car would you like, Mr. Simpson?
I don't know.
You know those super slankers they sell in the Quickie Mart? The cup is this big.
Extremely large beverage holder.
I'm not done yet. I want a horn here, here, and here.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the car designed for the average man, the Homer.
Any questions?
So the lens is cocked separately to the shutter release. Cocking of the lens is on the left. Pull this down and cocks the shutter, and on the other side you release the shutter by pulling this knob down. That itself doesn't do anything. It's just a mechanical piece which is attached to this slider. This slider, I mean, look at the slider itself. The attachment is primitive, how that slides. It doesn't run inside a beautiful groove or anything like that. It's just a little pin. And that slider has a bit of a metal piece that curls around and goes to another rod over there, which manually pushes that lever down. Come on, guys. We could pull that down ourselves. We don't need all this gadget to pull that down. So what's that for? I'll tell you what it's for. It's there to give it a feature, and that feature, that technology, is to prevent double exposure. So the lens doesn't directly communicate with the body. The body knows if there's a film in there. The body knows if the film has been wound up to the next frame. So how does the body communicate that to the lens? It doesn't. It communicates it to this slider through this pin over here. So if the film has been shot, this will lock up. So this slider doesn't go up and down. Therefore, it will not pull that lever down. However, if you get your finger over there, you can still pull that down and release the shutter. So First you create a problem, then you solve it in this primitive way. Still charming. The high quality lens is of course this one. This is a low quality lens only for viewing. The lens itself has the shutter assembly inside it with this ring over here. So somehow you get your fingers around this thing, trying not to pull that thing down accidentally, and it gives you the shutter speeds. Maximum is 1/500th of a second, and the maximum is 1 full second plus B. Okay, and there's no in between. Just note that there's no in between. On this side, we have the aperture. This happens to be a wide-angle lens, which in medium format cameras is say 65. 65 is wide-angle. 80 would be a standard lens. So that's wide-angle lens. For this particular lens, it goes from f3.5 to f32. Of course, you don't want to take any pictures in 32 because you get some fringing and so on. The quality of the picture will not be good. Try to stay within 16 or 22. 16 is even better. All right, so that's the lens and the shutter assembly. The next feature or problem to be solved is, what if you deliberately want to have multiple exposure? Now this thing is preventing you from doing multiple exposure. So what if you want to do it deliberately? Okay, so let's create the problem first, then solve it. You solve it by having an override. That's an override button. So in this override button, there's one position called roll film. So obviously you want to have a roll film in there. And in the other position, you have this called sheet. So there's an attachment which goes in the back and gives you a single sheet film. But the same position also gives you multi-exposure. So those two are somehow the same thing. So if you turn this knob around to that point, like that, now this is released. This slider can work regardless of the situation with the film. So you can do multiple exposure. Cock the lens and release the shutter. Now if you forget to put this back, it will do all your future shots on the same frame. So you have to push this back, and now this mechanism locks every time that you take another picture. Alright, so that's our Homer Simpson solution. This is a film counter, a very tiny film counter. This is the lens focus knob. There's one on the left hand side, one on the right hand side. They're identical. Why two? No idea. Well, why not? It's only about 2 kilos, so let's have 2 of those. This camera has another innovation. Of course, it's a professional camera, so it has another innovation that is unlikely for TLR cameras. The lens or lenses are interchangeable. There's a range of lenses. So how do you take those off? 2 lenses attached to each other. Do you have a Nikon style bayonet mount? No, of course not. We have to have the Flintstones technology. So instead of that, what we have is the lenses attached to a back plate, and the whole plate with 2 lenses needs to come out. So we have this wire that holds it in place with tension. That wire is straight out of mousetrap technology, probably 300 or 400 years. So that wire is tensioned against the back plate and then put through this little groove. It's a technology, a groove technology. And this goes through the groove and it holds it in place in full view. If you want to take the lens out, you have to pull this down and fold this back exactly like in a mousetrap, and the lens comes out. But you don't want that to happen accidentally, right? So with this thing being in full view, we have to do something so this mousetrap doesn't open. So there's another flap next to it that stops this from coming down. So option 1, you figure out that's a very simple thing. You just push that in and then this comes out. But no, that's not enough. In this mousetrap technology, we're going to make it automatic. So we have this slider. When you slide this to the left, that will automatically pull that back, and therefore the mousetrap is released. So it's just a simple connection between that and that, which is completely unnecessary because you can push that by itself. Alright, so we created one problem and we solved it in 2 ways. Yet another problem. We don't have the usual medium format camera dark slide to protect the film plane. We don't have that. So what happens when you take the lenses out? You expose the film, right? So you have to have another solution. That solution is this knob here, which has 2 positions, lock and unlock. So which one do you think is lock and which one do you think is unlock? Is unlock for taking the lens out, or is lock for pulling the lens out? Let me explain. In one position, there's a flap that goes up and closes the hole where the lens comes out. Therefore, it protects the film plane. Okay, flap goes up, protects the hole. So is that lock or is it unlock? What do you guess? I would have guessed lock. But no, it is actually unlock. When that flap goes up, it's called unlock. So you put this on unlock to protect the film plane, not unlock. Right. So got your brain around that? But if that confuses you, the next thing is, what if you put a lens in there and you forget which one was which? So without you knowing, the film plane is already blocked. You are looking through the top lens, so you will never know. So problem created because of this twin lens situation. We need a solution. Okay, let's have a Homer Simpson solution to that. What do we do? All right. In this, we create a little flap thing behind the ground glass, and in one position you can see a ghost of it in red, and see, and this means it's out of the way, so it's good to go. Easy Homer Simpson solution. So that means lock. Incredibly, lock. Lock means you can now take a picture. On top of it, there is an ISO selection, which is called ASA, same thing. But of course, there is no light meter. It's only for your memory. Got all that? Good. You have to remember a lot of things here. Let's go back to the basics. This sends the light in. There's a mirror at this angle. Light goes in, reflects up, and goes to this ground glass, and you can see the picture over there. But as it turns out, it's not incredibly bright. It should be, but it somehow isn't. Maybe it's the technology of the ground glass at the time. So in practice, what you need to do is to press this and a loop comes up. You get your eye very close to that and you focus in and you turn the knobs up and down and satisfy yourself that the focus is good. So problem created, solution is provided. That doesn't work for you in rapid action situations. Okay, problem. How do we solve that now? Okay, the way we solve that is this. We make this one foldable. You fold this down and we make a hole in this one. Simple hole technology. Hole. No lens. And you look through that hole and you look through this hole and you guess where the frame is and you take a picture. Okay? How simple could it be? Now we want to get rid of that flap over there. We have to remember another bit of technology. So if you press the right side, it flips up. Amazing. then you fold this down, then you fold this and this and this and this. 5 actions to get rid of that. Very good. One more thing. Why is this camera nearly 2 kilos? It's like having 4 Olympus OM1s around your neck or shoulder. 4. Because we've created the problem ourselves. We at Mamiya, of course. First, there's one lens for viewing. A light goes in, mirror, ground glass, etc., etc. So that takes up about that much real estate that cannot be shared with anything. All that metal, all that lens, all the glass, all of that is wasted just for viewing. Simply because we're not looking through the main lens. It has a mirror. How long did it take human beings to say the same mirror can also act on this one? Just like in a Hasselblad. Now, what's this? Now, for the second one, there's a whole light box, which is this much at least, because it needs to expose a film 6 by 6 centimeters. So there's a whole light box over there. So it's almost like a Hasselblad sitting in there, plus this thing on top. And this corner, which is outside of the light cone is about like this. This corner is wasted. Why? Why is that corner wasted? Because of this mechanism. So self-imposed problem. So what's this for? This is for extending the lens out with the bellows, which is another solution to a self-imposed problem, because the lens itself is not doing the focusing job. Instead of having a helicoid, like all other lenses, a lot of them available at the time of this Mamiya. Instead, Mamiya came up with the idea that the whole thing for both lenses goes in and out. And for that, of course, you need this mechanism, you need this slider, you need this huge knob and so on. And this much is wasted for that. All right? So this corner could not be used. In other TLRs, this corner outside of the light cone is used to have this film spool they put over there inside of that corner. But here, because you can't put it in there, you put it here. So the whole width of the film is added to the length of this already very tall camera. More metal. So the film spool is here and here, and the film plane is here. This corner is wasted on this thing. All right. The back door opens by flipping this 90 degrees just to be sure that it doesn't flip open and expose your film. And then once you do that, push to the right and then it opens. Well, you need that backup because there's no dark slide. Also, to be sure the film is there and so on, there's a little peephole here with a microscopic window in there, hardly 3 millimeters, I would say. All right, we've solved that self-imposed problem as well. The next thing is this. Now that we've come up with this brilliant idea of moving both lenses with this amazing contraption of bellows and having 2 sliders here and there so it doesn't wobble, having done that, the lens is so far away from the film plane that the exposure can't be relied on. The exposure becomes less. The light will diminish by distance. So whatever your light meter tells you, let's say you have a Sekonic or similar, it's lying to you. Uh-oh, what are we going to do now? Mamiya, what's the solution? All right, Homer Simpson solution. We provide a graph, which is handy because it's right there attached to the camera. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 bands over here. You can see the bands, hard to see, but here it says 55 to 65 millimeter lens, 80 millimeter, 105 to 135, and then 180 to 250. Looks like there's some gaps in between, aren't there? Some gaps. All right, So this is a 65mm lens, so we only have to look at the bottom row. If we change the lens, we have to look at the appropriate row. So let's say you get whatever you want in sharp focus, and let's say inside of that, it comes to that point. Fine. You have to look very carefully. The first section here, which has the number 1, has no pattern on it. Okay, let's call that a no pattern zone. And then this zone, which has 1.5 written on it, from here to here, has a dot pattern. You have to be very careful. Good eyes required from there to there. No line given to separate it. And then from there, hard to see. From there to there, there to there, it says 2, and it has a hatch pattern in one direction. And then beyond that, further, it has a number 3, a hatching pattern in 2 directions. So 1, 2, 3, 4 zones with different patterns on them. Each one has a beginning and an end. So depending on where your focus went, let's say your focus is here, this landed in the 2 zone. So that means whatever your light meter tells you, you have to double the amount of light. Okay, you've got to do this in your head. Double the amount of light means option 1, half the shutter speed, or the next f-stop open in your aperture. One or the other. Okay, for 2, understandable. What about 1.5? Uh-oh, what do we do? 1.5. So it's not quite 1 f-stop or 1 shutter speed up or down. It's halfway. But do we have a halfway point? Oh no, we don't have a halfway point. We just have to make do with approximations. So we just go a little bit more or a bit less. If it's color film, expose a little bit more, it'll be good for you. Don't worry. So what about the focus scale? The lens, unlike all civilized cameras, doesn't have a focus scale. Because it's not a helicoid, because it's a bellows thing. Okay, so let's say the lens is stretched out this far. You have to look at these colored things. Red means 65mm. Yeah, whatever that light blue color is, means 55, black is 80. And you want other lenses, you have to go to this other graph here. 105, 135, 180, 250. Okay, so that covers a range of lenses. Choose the one that you want. On this occasion, we want 65, which is red color, and that's that one. So if you want to forget about this and just guess the distance in, say, meters on the right, feet on the left. Let's say you want 6 feet, or let's say 2 meters, or whatever. You put that on the red line. Okay, there. And that's supposed to be the distance. Either that, or you look inside and avoid the headache. So that's what those curved lines are for. Another Homer Simpson solution to a self-imposed problem. But there is more. There's a lot more. On the other side, there's yet another scale. What's that for? Same thing, actually. It only gives it to you for 65mm lens and 80mm lens. And there's no index. So the edge of the camera is your index. So you put this on, say, 7 feet. There. 7 feet. By the way, for you camera lovers, if you get this particular Mamiya C3 and you download the PDF version of the manual, this and this, as you see on the real camera, are not the same as what it says on the manual. The picture in the manual is completely different for here and here. In fact, you will find that this is on this side a 3rd tab, and is for a different lens, for a 135mm lens. So anyway, you read the manual, get the principles, but don't expect consistency. Okay, the manual is also written by probably Bart Simpson. Now, this is supposed to be, in a way, a modular camera. So can we change this to something else? Can we, in fact, reach the ground glass and clean it or replace it or something? Okay, how do we do that? So those of us used to civilized cameras, we expect to have some button or some slider or something. In Rolleiflex, you press some buttons here, pull this out. No, this is not one of those. You have to treat it like a screw. You unscrew this awkwardly, and it uses groove technology again, the mousetrap groove technology. So there's a groove in here. See? Groove technology, screw, groove. Here, it also has groove technology and pin here. Groove, pin technology. This goes into the groove and the screw tightens it. Otherwise, it is just a simple box and floats around. It doesn't actually slide into any groove or anything like that. Okay. So now we get to the ground glass. That looks easy to clean. Okay, let's clean that. And then you're bound to find dirt spots on the other side. What are you going to do with that? Okay, option 1, you follow those instructions I gave you before, and I bet you've already forgotten. Use the mousetrap technology and open this and take the lens out and try to clean that from inside awkwardly with cotton tip. That's option 1. While you're at it, you can also use some distilled water to clean the mirror at this angle from outside as well. That was option 1. Option 2, okay, you can make the same mistake as I made. It's supposed to be the professional way. We want to take this out and properly clean it. And we want to properly clean the inside and get rid of all the dirt and dust and everything. So you take out these 5 screws. But caution, these are not your everyday screws, not even everyday camera screws. These are wide, about 2.5mm, but extremely thin hole in there. So I had to look through 20 screwdrivers, flathead, to find one that was thin enough to go inside there and open this. So even though this is a Flintstones design, I did not expect how primitive it was underneath that. I did not expect that. So when I pulled this off, quite a few things fell inside. So you shake the camera, turn it upside down, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. You find that underneath those 3 screws, there are 3 packers or spacers which are made of what do you think? Metal, copper, brass, what do you think? No, paper. Made of paper. Paper, yes, like painting paper. And black. And they have holes, the 3 pieces, aligned with those 3. And 3 pieces not glued together or anything, just fall inside. And these 2 screws, underneath them, the columns that come out of the body of the camera, columns, round columns. And on the very top of the columns, there's a washer, a thick washer and a thin washer, a thick washer and a thin washer. And those also fall down because they're not sitting inside a well, they're not attached to anything, there's nothing holding them, they're just sitting on top of some columns. They also fall down. So get those out. This comes out. Just like this one, it doesn't actually slide into any definitive position, only one position is floating. So the only thing that holds it in this position is the position of the screws. So you clean behind the ground glass, beautiful, like this is. Clean the mirror, it was super dirty, okay. Cleaned with distilled water. And now we have to put it back together. Wow, dawns on you, how am I going to put this back together again? You get the 3 pieces of paper, try to align them together and put them over there, and try to get the holes to match the holes that you see at the bottom, but the paper is dark, you can't see those holes. How do you align them? Okay, you just roughly align them. You put 2 washers on this side and 2 washers on that side precariously on top of those columns that come up, and you try to pull this down on top, and because there's no exact alignment, you don't know where to put it down. You put it down somewhere and move it a little bit to align the holes, and then it moves the paper, it moves the washers, 2 washers fall inside again, the paper goes out of alignment. Doesn't work. I've opened very intricate watches and repaired them. This was more precarious than that. Alright, so we solved that problem in the Simpson design. Put this back on. Now we have a perfectly clean camera. One more thing. Let's say we want a cable release. So at the top of it, we create another tab that comes out of there that has the hole for cable release to push this thing down in the same way as this is pushed down. However, having coupled together all these technologies, mousetrap technology, Simpson's technology, it's bound to create some other problems. And it does. The manual cautions you. It says, if you haven't cocked the shutter, don't press this down. Uh-oh. What if you forget? The manual cautions, if you can do that, then you will lock up the lens. It may not work. What? I can destroy this thing so easily? And it says, but don't despair. You may just be lucky and be able to unlock it. How do you do that? Okay, it then says, forget about our Simpson's technology. Reach in there and try to pull that thing down. Presumably, it's going to ruin one film. Oh, okay. Put the cover on. Oh, wait a minute. We still don't want to ruin that shot, because if we do that, then the camera insists on advancing to the next film, the next frame. Hang on. So let's solve this problem properly. So you put the cover on to solve this problem. Then you put this on the wrong setting, deliberately wrong setting, which is the multi-exposure and sheet film setting, deliberately, and then you manually press that thing over there, and that will release the lens. Oh my God, almost cute how primitive this is. This is a very charming camera. I would not give this up for any amount of money. Look at the cute solutions to all the self-imposed problems. It is a classic. It is an absolute classic from Mamiya. Mamiya has a lot of fantastic cameras, and I'll show you a video of the Mamiya press camera very shortly, and several others. But look at this one. Unique technology, only a tiny bit more advanced than a house mousetrap.
With all this advanced technology, Bedrock is a modern city, a model for things to come.
we turn this knob 90 degrees to the right until it's vertical. Then we push it to the right and open the back door. This yellow thing should be in the vertical position to make it easier to put the film in. So we use this crank to bring it to the top. That makes that tab also vertical over there. We pull this out and rotate it. It stops there. Pull this out also, rotate it, and it stops there. Take this one out, spool out. It's quite difficult. Let me see. Use our trusty old skewer out. Put this one in on the other side in the vertical slot position, and then push that in. There, that's in. For this film, take out the paper and all the bits and pieces. Leave nothing behind. No bits and pieces. Don't let it run away from you. This one doesn't have a slot, so it's easy to put in. Release that one. Okay, that's gone in. Extend this one. Put it into the slot. Okay. Use a crank. Advance it until this arrow goes to that red dot there, or this red dot over here. That's all that's required. Now it's good. Close the back, press this side and that side together. Now it's done. Now we have to crank it until it stops. Stops. Then you go backward. Done. Fold it back. Number is shown as 1. We're now ready.